In the quiet town of Ravenswood, where the whispering wind carried the secrets of the past, I found myself drawn to the ancient graveyard that stood on the outskirts. The wrought iron gate creaked as I pushed it open, and the crunch of gravel underfoot echoed through the stillness of the night. Moonlight filtered through the gnarled branches of the surrounding trees, casting eerie shadows on the moss-covered tombstones. As I wandered deeper into the graveyard, a sense of solemnity enveloped me. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and memories long forgotten. The graves, like silent sentinels, stood as testaments to lives once lived, now mere whispers in the darkness. Each headstone told a story, and I felt compelled to uncover the tales hidden beneath the surface. I approached a weathered monument adorned with ivy, its inscription barely legible. The name etched in stone belonged to Emily Hawthorne, a woman who had lived in the 19th century. As my fingers traced the grooves of the letters, I closed my eyes, and the graveyard came alive with echoes of the past. Emily's life unfolded before me like a sepia-toned film. She was a spirited young woman who had fallen in love with a dashing poet, William Blackwood. Their love was as tumultuous as the stormy nights that often graced Ravenswood. Against the wishes of Emily's stern father, they vowed to be together, defying the constraints of society. Tragedy struck on their wedding day, when a sudden illness claimed William's life. Heartbroken and alone, Emily visited his grave every day, her grief carving deep lines into her once youthful face. Legend had it that on the anniversary of William's death, Emily's ghost could be seen, wandering the graveyard, her ethereal figure bathed in a soft, melancholic glow. As I moved on to the next grave, the crunch of footsteps behind me made me turn around. To my surprise, a figure dressed in 19th century attire stood before me. The ghostly apparition of Emily Hawthorne materialized, her eyes haunted by the pain of a love lost. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice as delicate as the rustling leaves. "I'm just a visitor," I replied, my heart pounding in my chest. Emily's spectral gaze bore into mine, and in that moment, I felt a connection transcending time. She spoke of the love that had defined her existence and the agony of being parted from her beloved, William. As the night unfolded, Emily's story became a poignant tapestry, woven with threads of love, loss, and the enduring power of the human spirit. We walked together among the graves, and Emily shared the tales of others who rested beneath the silent earth. There was Thomas, a war hero whose bravery had become the stuff of legends, and Eleanor, a mysterious woman with a penchant for secrets that she took to her grave. Each soul had a story, and the graveyard became a living testament to the rich tapestry of Ravenswood's history. As dawn approached, the first light of morning illuminated the graveyard, casting a warm glow on the moss-covered stones. Emily's spectral form began to fade, but her voice lingered in the air. "Remember our stories," she whispered, her essence dissipating like morning mist. I left the graveyard with a heart heavy with the weight of the past. The whispers of Ravenswood's history echoed in my mind, a reminder that even in death, the stories of the departed lived on, waiting to be discovered by those willing to listen in the quiet solitude of the graveyard. The cold wind rustled through the ancient trees as I approached the dilapidated mansion nestled at the edge of the town. The wrought iron gate creaked open, reluctant to allow entry to the weary traveler. I couldn't resist the allure of the abandoned estate rumored to be a playground for paranormal entities. As an avid enthusiast of the supernatural, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as I stepped onto the overgrown path leading to the imposing structure. The mansion, with its cracked windows and sagging roof, seemed frozen in time, a relic of a bygone era. As I stepped across the threshold, a shiver ran down my spine. The air was thick with a palpable energy, and the oppressive silence was broken only by the echo of my footsteps on the decaying floorboards. I had come equipped with an arsenal of ghost hunting tools, an EVP recorder, a thermal imaging camera, and a pocket full of fresh batteries. The stories surrounding this place spoke of ghostly apparitions and mysterious voices that echoed through the halls. With a sense of determination, I pressed record on the EVP recorder and ventured deeper into the mansion's depths. The first room I entered was the grand foyer, its ornate chandelier a mere skeleton of its former self. The air seemed to grow colder, and I could feel a weight on my chest. My breath misted in front of me as I cautiously moved forward, guided only by the dim light filtering through the cracked windows. As I explored further, strange occurrences became more frequent. Shadows danced at the periphery of my vision, and distant whispers echoed through the empty halls. I strained to decipher the indistinct voices that seemed to be calling my name, playing tricks on my senses. In the heart of the mansion, I discovered a room adorned with faded wallpaper and dusty furniture frozen in time. It felt like the epicenter of the supernatural energy that permeated the entire building. With the EVP recorder in hand, I asked the spirits questions, inviting them to communicate. The air grew tense as I awaited responses that only materialized as eerie, unexplained noises on playback. As night fell, I set up the thermal imaging camera in the center of the haunted room. The temperature dropped drastically, and the camera revealed chilling silhouettes that moved with an ethereal grace. My heart raced as I watched the spectral figures on the screen, wondering if I had truly crossed the threshold between the living and the dead. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. Panic seized me as I fumbled for my flashlight, the beam cutting through the oppressive blackness. The silence shattered as disembodied laughter echoed around me, sending a chill down my spine. The shadows seemed to coalesce into sinister shapes, dancing in the periphery of my vision. With a deep breath, I mustered the courage to continue my exploration. The mansion seemed to have a life of its own, responding to my presence with a symphony of spectral activity. I climbed the creaking staircase, each step groaning beneath my weight. The upper floor held a myriad of rooms, each hiding its own secrets. In one room, the air felt charged with an otherworldly energy. The walls seemed to pulse with a spectral heartbeat. The door slammed shut behind me, and I was enveloped in darkness. The room came alive with the sound of ethereal whispers, recounting tales of lost souls and unfinished business. As I listened, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A figure materialized in the corner, its form obscured by the shadows. I could feel the weight of its gaze as it fixated on me. With trepidation, I whispered into the darkness, "Who are you?" The figure remained silent, but its presence spoke volumes. I sensed a deep sorrow, a longing that transcended the boundaries of the living and the dead. It beckoned me to follow, and I found myself drawn through a maze of forgotten corridors and hidden chambers. In a forgotten attic space, I stumbled upon a collection of old photographs and tattered letters. The figure materialized once more, and this time, its features became clearer. A woman in a Victorian-era gown, her eyes filled with an otherworldly sadness. The realization struck me she was the ghost of a former resident, bound to the mansion by a tragic fate. Compelled by empathy, I asked the spirits how I could help. The room grew colder as a ghostly hand pointed to a hidden compartment in the floor. As I opened it, I discovered a well-preserved journal, its pages filled with the woman's anguish and heartache. The more I read, the more the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. The woman, Elizabeth, had been accused of witchcraft during a time of paranoia and hysteria. The journal detailed her pleas of innocence and her tragic fate at the hands of the townsfolk. Her spirit lingered, yearning for someone to hear her story and clear her name. Armed with this newfound knowledge, I returned to the haunted room and shared the contents of the journal. As the words echoed through the air, the atmosphere shifted. The temperature rose, and a sense of peace washed over the room. Elizabeth's ghost appeared once more, her expression now one of gratitude. In that moment, I realized the true nature of the paranormal activity within the mansion. It wasn't rooted in malevolence, but in the yearning of lost souls to share their untold stories. As I left the mansion, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had not just witnessed a series of unexplained events, but had become a conduit for the voices of the forgotten. The haunted mansion, once a place of fear and mystery, now held a different significance. It was a testament to the enduring power of the past and the cathartic release that comes when the stories of the departed are finally heard. As I walked away, the wind carried with it a soft whisper of farewell from the grateful spirits who had found solace in the telling of their tales. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the desolate beach. I stood alone, the sand cool beneath my bare feet, the rhythmic crashing of the waves creating an eerie symphony. The idyllic scene betrayed no hint of the terror that awaited me. It was a spontaneous decision to spend the weekend at this secluded beach. The brochure had promised tranquility, an escape from the chaotic city life that had consumed me. Little did I know, tranquility would soon morph into a nightmare. As night descended, the beach transformed. Shadows danced menacingly, and the once soothing waves seemed to whisper malevolent secrets. I built a small fire, its feeble light flickering against the encroaching darkness. A distant howl echoed through the night, sending shivers down my spine. The unease intensified as I wandered along the shore, the only human soul 4 miles. The sand crunched beneath my feet, and the occasional gust of wind carried haunting whispers that teased at the edge of my consciousness. I dismissed them as figments of an overactive imagination, eager to dispel the growing unease. As I returned to my makeshift camp, I noticed an odd arrangement of stones near the water's edge. Intricate symbols adorned the sandy canvas, symbols I couldn't decipher. Unease turned to dread as the firelight revealed the remnants of an old, weathered journal lying beside the stones. Curiosity overcame caution, and I opened the journal to find cryptic entries detailing a dark ritual performed on this very beach. The writer spoke of an ancient entity, hungry for the souls of those who dared to trespass on its sacred domain. The entries became increasingly frantic, warning of impending doom. I scoffed at the absurdity, dismissing it as the ramblings of a disturbed mind. That's when the shadows began to move independently, converging in a sinister dance around my flickering fire. The whispers intensified, now forming an indistinct chorus of anguish. A sudden chill gripped the air as the temperature plummeted. The flames danced wildly, casting grotesque shapes on the sand. I felt an unseen presence, a malevolence that clawed at the edges of my sanity. Panic set in, and I stumbled backward, the journal slipping from my trembling hands. The beach seemed to come alive, the sand shifting as if stirred by invisible hands. I caught glimpses of distorted figures in the darkness, their movements purposeful and unsettling. Fear clutched at my throat, choking off any rational thought. I sprinted along the shoreline, the rhythmic pounding of my heart drowning out the haunting symphony of the night. The beach, once a haven of escape, had transformed into a nightmarish realm. Desperation fueled my flight, but the shadows pursued relentlessly, whispering promises of torment. As I reached the water's edge, a bone-chilling wail echoed through the night. I turned to see a ghastly figure emerging from the surf, a spectral form cloaked in seaweed and darkness. Its eyes, hollow and malevolent, locked onto mine. Paralyzed by fear, I could only watch as the ancient entity materialized before me. Its voice, a guttural rasp, reverberated through my very being, promising an eternity of suffering for trespassing on its sacred grounds. The shadows closed in, merging with the entity as it extended a skeletal hand towards me. In that moment, I uttered a desperate plea, a prayer to any force that might hear. The air crackled with energy, and the entity recoiled, its unearthly wail piercing the night. The shadows retreated, leaving me alone on the beach, gasping for breath. The sun began to rise, its golden rays banishing the remnants of the night's horrors. The beach, now serene and untouched, offered no evidence of the supernatural ordeal that had unfolded. I stumbled away, haunted by the echoes of that otherworldly encounter, forever scarred by the beach that harbored ancient terrors.